Hey, thanks for checking out the video. If you all like it, please like and subscribe, and hope you all enjoy it. Have a great rest of the day.
Awesome. So we're going to do a weapons demonstration for y'all. It's going to be Allied and Axis weapons. So how we're going to do it is we're going to go over main battle rifles first. We'll go over submachine guns. Then we'll go over belt-fed machine guns, mortars, and we'll have Allied and Axis soldiers standing next to each other so you can see the differences in their weapons, how they functioned, advantages, disadvantages, so on and so forth. All right. So the first weapons that we're going to go over is the M1 Garand, which was the Americans' primary infantry fighting rifle, and the Gewehr 98. So I need one German with a K98. K98. Yep. Hold your weapons up. I'll talk about the M1. I just need one of the Germans for the K98. Right there. You want to talk about it?
I had one of those.
Sure.
No, I had.
We're going to go over the K98 first. All right, so this is the K98K. It was the standard German rifle back in World War II. It shoots 8mm Mauser, and
Let's see if they want to go through all three. Or squad
they load it in using a stripper clip.
Hold right there.
And so to load it, you put the stripper clip into the top, push the rounds in, and it's loaded, just like that. 5 rounds.
K98 is pretty simple to use. It's a basic infantry weapon. As soon as you go to boot camp, I mean, it takes you 5 minutes to learn it. I mean, basically anybody can learn it. And eventually, at the end of the war, basically civilians were having to get the weapons and end up having to fight, you know, until the last. But like he says, 5-round strip clip, put it in, load it. Okay, you got your, put it on safety, but you can still unlock it. You can't shoot it. When you put it on full safety, it won't let you shoot it or open it. So when you got it ready, you just flip it, and you're good to go. A lot of these were made in different countries, so every country had their own version. He's got a K98. What I have here is the VZ24. It's a Czechoslovakian one. It's still 8mm. The differences, they got some different variations. Mine's straight bolt, his is curved. But a lot of countries, especially during the pre-war years, between the first and second, Mauser ended up having to outsource the weapons being made. So each company or each country, you end up making their own version of the Mauser. So when Germany started invading different countries, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, and so on, there were a short supply of weapons, and most countries had a Mauser, 8mm. I mean, they had plenty of ammo, they just needed the weapon. So basically what they used.
All right, you can go ahead and fire your piece. Go back there and fire.
Go ahead. Go at her.
Tell they're pretty loud, so especially if you're in the enclosed spaces, you're going to end up having some ringing in your ears. But a lot of these were turning later on sniper rifles because they were good and they were accurate. I mean, even if they got dirty, the bolt action itself was still pretty smooth to where it won't jam up too much. But that was your basic infantry rifle for the German Army.
K98, guys. All right, so the next thing we're going to go over is the M1 Garand. This was the primary infantry rifle for the United States Army and Marine Corps through World War II. This weapon fired 8 rounds out of an M-block clip. It was top loaded, and well, this was the magazine itself, and they actually called it a clip. 30-06, range up to around 800 yards. Every infantryman had it. This rifle is semi-automatic. The Germans had a bolt-action rifle. We did not have to cycle the bolt ourselves. The gun did it for us. So very easy for everyone to use. You have to be careful when you load it from the top though, or else you get something called grand thumb. It's when the bolt wouldn't lock all the way back, it would get caught on the lever, and then it would just jam your thumb. Not very fun day.
I remember you doing a while ago on the right.
Cool. Oh, John Garand, he was Canadian American. A lot of people call it Grand. He called it Garand. That's just how he likes to pronounce it. But again, primary infantry rifle for the U.S. Army during World War II. We're gonna go ahead and have him fire it for you. What you're gonna notice is when he hits the last round, it's gonna have that famous ping. The end block is gonna eject itself from the weapon. All right.
A lot of us that waiting to do that. Then they go right in.
Jeremy kind of. They only 5 shots here.
Yeah. But I mean, they go and shoot.
There it is.
Oh.
M1 Garand. All right, next thing we're gonna go over is the MP40 and the Thompson.
This is the German model MP40 submachine gun. Carries a 32 round stick magazine. It's made for close quarters combat. It shoots a 9mm round. Later on, just early in the war, it's usually to NCOs and officers. Later on in the war, especially in the Luftwaffe, which is what I'm portraying today, in the Fallschirmjäger, they made up for lack of manpower with firepower. Instead of having one of these per every 10 men, sometimes they had as many as 3 every 10 men.
All right, this is the 1928 Thompson submachine gun. There was a couple variants. You had the M1A1, which had a fixed sight. It wasn't adjustable and it didn't elevate. It was just one sight, and it just had a little enclosure right here. And also, instead of having a top lever, it had a side cocking lever. All right, 1928 Thompsons and the M1A1s. Can you grab mine right here? Here's the difference right here. Side cocking handle, closed upper sight. These would only fire 20-round box magazines and 30-round box magazines, except for that one. That one accepts the drum. This is the full military version. Would only accept the 20-rounders and the 30-rounders. Could you get to 100 on that? You can get up to 100-round drum mag on that version. This was primarily issued to NCOs and officers, so your squad leaders, truck drivers, sometimes tank crewmen, and infantry officers. Those would be your main guys carrying it, or they would just pick it off the ground if someone left it there or someone was killed in action. This shot 45 round or 45 ACP. You could hit someone up to 100 yards. More than that, you're not really doing much with it. Real good for close quarters. You get around 800 rounds a minute with this firearm. Good? Yep. That's it. That's it. That's it.
I don't think that's it.
Is there anything I'm missing? No, we shoot. You can do one at a time. You can go.
These weapons were not designed for blanks, so they may malfunction with them.
Great! Hey John, you want to talk about your M1 Carbine?
That's for one officer, it was something better.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the M1 Carbine. This was made to replace the 1911, but instead they were issued both, mainly with officers, NCOs, mortarmen, crew members for the machine gun crew, and it would shoot what was it?
30 carbine.
30 carbine with 15 round mags, but by Korea they moved up to 30 round mags, and they added a bayonet lug. Please, thank you. And from that point,
So
we're on to Korea.
yeah, so 30 round magazine, double the ammunition, and you could fix a bayonet onto the front, and you've got a rear adjustable sight for windage. So a little bit more complicated, but still serves the same purpose as that beautiful firearm there.
Actually, this is another topic that most people do not know. This rifle was actually invented by a convict, a felon who got caught for running moonshine, and his hobby was gunsmithing, and that's what saved him from spending the rest of his life in prison. And whenever he made the concept, the United States government took up the contract and said, all right, we're going to take up your contract and you're free to go. So are you ready to? Yep, go ahead. Right.
The prisoner from North Carolina.
Yep, North Carolina. Absolutely right. M1 Carbine. That was M1 Carbine, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, when you're doing Omaha Beach,
My poor buddy Jacob here has been toting this poor gun around that he started off my height. And now you can see what it's come to. So in all seriousness, like we discussed before, the Germans have been used weapons from just about every country they occupy. Prior to the war though, the Czechs are manufacturing and distributing some of the widest array of weapons in the world. If you weren't making it yourself, buying it from the Germans, you're probably buying it from the Czechs. In this case here, we have the Czech-made ZB-30 light machine gun. Fires with a 20-round box magazine up top. It is very popular, commonly seen all over Eastern Europe, China, South America. Here's the magazine. Because it is fixed up front, the sights are actually on the side. This is an updated version of a 26. You can actually mount anti-aircraft sights to it as well. It is still considered a crew-served weapon, generally 2 to 3 men, with the gunner, a gunner, and some poor sap just carrying more and more boxes of ammo. This was very popular though with the Germans. One of the things they liked about it is just how much easier it was to carry around than even the 34 to a point. It's a little more less cumbersome. One of my favorite features about it is with the handle here on the side, you simply pop it out to make it a little easier for firing from the hip while on the move, instead of having a belt dangling around to get tangled up and everything. Another thing they can do is, like with other guns at the time, if I am trying to fire at an aircraft, so, but overall a very common, popular gun, like we talked about. They're using a little bit of everything from everybody. Even my service pistol here is Czech made. Do you guys have a machine gun or anything to pull out? Or?
Y'all want to do the 42 and that at the same time?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, do the alternating powder. And y'all can do a shooting demo of that at the same time, and we'll do ours.
Adam, you want to talk about the 42 too?
We can.
Hey, you want to talk about it?
Okay. All right. So this is a little more old school design here. Standard ideas, light machine gun, that's all it's supposed to do. The MG42 though is a general purpose. Meaning they're using for light machine gun duties or even heavy machine gun duties. So they can put it on a lafette in a fixed position, say in a bunker or what have you, or they can just have 2 poor saps lugging it around with all the ammo for assaulting positions with the infantry squad. This is a much more cheaper and quicker to manufacture weapon than the previous 34. The MG34 takes a lot of time and money machining. This guy is a lot faster to make and fires a lot faster too. Versions of it today still serve out there in the world now. Also fires 8mm, however this is a belt-fed weapon. One of the nice things about it though, it can also take anti-aircraft sights. There on the side by his hand is the lever for quick change for the barrel.
Oh.
You need to do that fairly often so you don't melt the barrel. And you'd have to have the asbestos, asbestos, little thing as a mitten to grab that hot barrel and change it out. So if you guys are ready. Oh, they also did nickname it Hitler's buzzsaw because of how fast it fired. They actually even made specific training videos so Allied troops would not be too terrified of it because how much faster it fired than their own weapons. Whenever you guys are ready, Jacob, you want to go first?
We're thinking about doing talking guns.
No, if you can do it, go for it. So if you see on the MG42, the A gunner is on the left-hand side to help feed the belt. On the ZB, if he did have an A gunner with him, he would be on the right-hand side to help change the magazines.
Ready?
Semi.
They're saying one's on semi-automatic and one's on automatic.
Just clear it.
Took me up early to come up here.
That's why we won the war.
Prime example, guns don't like blanks.
Yeah, they're 80 plus years old.
Right-hand side to help change the magazines.
Ready?
You're on semi.
They're saying one's on semi-automatic and one's on automatic.
Two American weapons. These are both belt-fed machine guns. On your left, my right, this is the 1917 A1 water-cooled machine gun. This is a 30 caliber weapon, 30-06, shot from a 250 round cloth belt. This was considered the heavy machine gun of World War II for the US Army. You had an effective range, allegedly, of 1,200 yards. That's a lot. This gun also has anti-aircraft sights that you can flip up. So if you want to shoot any planes, you can. This tripod comes with a anti-aircraft mount that sits about this high. I forgot to bring it out with me, but we do have one. This gun, fully put together with water in it, weighs around 125 pounds. This was a 5-man operation. You had your weapons section leader. He usually was issued with an M1 carbine, kind of looks like I do right now, usually a sergeant or a staff sergeant. You would have your gunner, which would be responsible for firing the weapon. You would have your assistant gunner, which would be carrying belts of ammo in here. Each one of these boxes holds 250 rounds of ammo. They would probably have around 700 to 1,000 rounds of ammo on them as their standard combat load. You would have someone designated to carrying the tripod and the traverse and elevation mechanism, and you have people designated for just carrying water. They would also act as your ammo bearers / flank guards when this gun was in a position. This gun was not an offensive weapon. It could be used in that manner, but it was very slow to put up. This would be more used for you're staying in a position for a while, you're defending a sector on the line, or it's guarding headquarters. It was too much to try and do on the move constantly. It could be done, but it was very strenuous. As you can see, there's a hose. This gun jacket itself, or the jacket right here, this is where all your water is stored. You would top this off, there's a funnel, top this off with water. As the gun would fire, it would heat up. That heat would create steam, which would send it into this tube, into that water chest. Water would get flushed into there, but it was mostly steam. As the gun would cool back down, sometimes water could be sucked back into the gun. Highly unlikely, it happens some, but you would have to constantly keep refilling this jacket. If you did not fill that jacket with water, you would melt the barrel, because this barrel is very thin. You would melt the barrel and destroy the gun. It had to have water in it to maintain fire security. We're gonna demonstrate this weapon for you. It should work great. I used it the other day. Can't speak for this one, but who wants to fire this? All right.
I see where the trigger is.
And this one is a semi-auto version. Do it as fast as you can. Hold it. Yeah, you don't have to hold the belt. Spoke too soon.
Appreciate you guys coming.
I did. Alright, I think that's all she's gonna do.
I got a round hung in her now.
You jinxed it. I just
Roll your ahead.
Alright. That's all she's gonna do. I'm sorry about that. I'll deal with that. I'll deal with it. It's fine. It's fine.
I don't think we're going to do that one.
She's a cranky old lady.
The next weapon we're going to talk about, this is the 1919. I forgot to say, this one was designed in 1917. This was designed in 1919. You can see some big differences. This one was water cooled. This one was air cooled. Both fired from a 250 round cloth belt. Fire rate of around 600 to 700 rounds a minute. So they're both identical in firepower. This was their light machine gun. So this is what would be, you would see offensively used. Machine guns of these sorts were not issued to like rifle squads. They were part of weapon companies and weapon platoons, and they would be dispersed between the rifle companies. If they needed them in a certain area, they would be given to them. They weren't a part of a regular infantry platoon. So usually the Army liked to go off of threes. So there was usually 3 of these in a weapons company. So this was the primary weapon for laying down suppressing fire for infantry to be able to move up and take objectives as needed. Pretty much the same way, same operations. We're gonna see if it works. I can't promise anything. All right, go for it.
Like loaded. God.
Guys, I'm lucky.
That's it. There we go. All right, John, you're good. All right. One weapon I forgot to mention. I'll let you talk about it, and then we'll go to mortars.
Good afternoon, everyone. For what I have to show you today is the 1897 trench gun. Now, during Europe, these are rarely used, but they're mainly used in Pacific by U.S. forces as a standard issue shotgun for U.S. forces. They shot a 12 gauge. Usually, they were issued with buckshot. Cleared. Quick little history about this thing. During World War I, when it was used, because we used to clear trenches, the Germans didn't like it, and they wanted it because they're a war crime. We told them no because they were using gas. So usually these had a tube capacity about 5 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, and has a little neat feature of what they call slam firing, which means is when I can hold down the trigger and continue feeding rounds in it, and it will fire. So let's see if I can get it to do that for y'all today.
Good job, Nathan.
Good job. Man, I really like our chances now. All my grand work better. There it goes. Supposed to be using brown and high power. I got a brown shotgun. Die right through it. You got it.
No, it's a good shot.
Yeah. Next thing we're going to go over are the German and American mortars. I'm going to let the German mortars go first.
Now this is not a real Granada Warfare 81, which is a medium-sized mortar for the German military. They had 3 main mortars. They had a 5 centimeter, the 8 centimeter, which was actually 81 millimeters, and they had a 120 centimeter built mortar, which was a vehicle code rare.
You're good.
I said, you all want to see a real one? Over here,
I know, right?
Over here, there's actual real Granada Warfare 81 that's been demilitarized. It's illegal to have real ones without having the destructive weapons permitted. So this is just simulated, and we'll fire off a couple rounds. Let's go all check it out.
That's what it was, right?
Go, 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 go.
Clark.
That's good enough.
Let me see one of those shots. I'll see one of those shots. All right. That was the Germans. Now going to American mortars. Today we have a 60 millimeter mortar. The Americans also had 81s, but today we're going to be firing a 60 millimeter mortar. 60 millimeter mortar was the primary mortar used for indirect fire, range of about 2,000 yards. you look at our mortar board right here, we have a few different rounds that you can fire. You have your training round, which is the black round. Your bottom green round, that's high explosive. It also had a timed fuse that you could fuse on. So if you wanted to have an air burst, you could do that. Otherwise, right here, this was an impact plate. Once it hit the ground, it would go off. Right here, you have illumination, so you'd fire it, you'd be able to light up the sky. And then right here, you have Willie Pete, white phosphorus. You could use it for concealment, or you could launch it into a group of people and it would not be a good day for them. It would burn your skin. Like I said, this is an indirect fire weapon. Ours is not a real 60mm mortar, as my German guys were saying. You have to have a license for it because it's considered a destructive device. What we did with ours is the bipod and the base plate, which is what the mortar is sitting on. Those are original. They were made by Firestone, which is a tire company today, but every company back in World War II produced something for the war. Our mortar was made by Firestone, which is pretty cool in my opinion. How our mortar works is we actually got real 60mm mortar shells and we filed them down. We drilled them all the way through, and we have our own firing device, which is a drill bit, and we put a 30-06 blank in the back of it. So it looks realistic when we fire it, and it just fires a 30-06 shell. Nothing comes out the top. It just makes a boom, just like he does. And ours has a trap door, same way it works. So this is not a destructive device. This is just a cap gun, basically. All right, that's all. Fire mission, fire mission, fire mission! German infantry, 500 yards!
Hanging!
No. 1 round! HE! Half load!
Hanging!
Fire! 1 round! HE! Half load!
Hanging!
Fire!
Hanging!
Fire! Rounds complete!
Rounds complete!
No.
I'm sorry!
Well, guys, that's all we got for weapon demos for y'all. If y'all have any questions, feel free to come up to us and take a look at our camps. We do have a battle starting in about 30 minutes in that field right there.